Hey, we're cooking with gas here. On the Jewcast.
Okay, careful using a phrase like that.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
Tradition!
Oh, shut up, Carl! Shut your goddamn Jew mouth! You people are why there's war in the Middle East!
Gekakken auf ein Jahr.
Nebbig.
Ver poo-poo-poo.
Vermischt.
Verkackt.
Vertutzt.
Verstonken.
Farted.
Exactly.
You're what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
All right, away we go. Episode 90 of American Jew.
5 times high.
I know. Hi.
Okay, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound so good.
I don't know. It sounds fun to me, Jonathan.
All right, as long as you're having fun, and we got to have all the fun we could have in these trying times.
Yeah, we need as many declarations of life as we can have at this point. I'm just happy to still be bored in my apartment.
You're happy to be bored in your apartment.
I mean, if that's the worst thing that happens to me, God bless me.
Okay, all right. Well, way to be positive about things, Jordan.
I got to try. Got to try to be positive because there's not a lot of good stuff happening in the world.
Well, you got to make the good stuff happen these days. It's not as easy to come by. I guess we've all been spoiled with life. And now it's really up to us to make the most of it, is my opinion.
I mean, you listen, we're fighting against anti-Semitism in this life, and it looks like we're going to be fighting against anti-Semitism in death.
Yes, it's crazy.
Like, we can't even let sleeping Jews lie. They got to put swastikas all over the cemeteries again.
Again, this happened in Cleveland.
It's amazing that this keeps happening in the Midwest areas.
Yeah, it turns out Cleveland doesn't rock.
Right? I mean, what's going on?
It seems like anti-Semites are always desecrating Jewish cemeteries. It seems like a big thing. I'm assuming it's like kids, younger people that are doing this, but it's really cowardly. I think it's so cowardly. What a cowardly form of hate and anti-Semitism to go and desecrate, a cemetery. Just because that's where Jewish people have died. I mean, show some respect for the dead. It's just ridiculous and crazy that this keeps happening. Of course, in America, it's appalling.
It is. It's disappointing to see that people are. I don't even really. There's no real reason behind it. There doesn't seem to be. That's the other part about it. It's not just cowardly. It's without merit, because if they people like this don't even stand up for their own beliefs publicly,
Right. It's crazy. I feel like we talk about a cemetery being vandalized almost every week, and it's like, get something better to do. I know there's probably not a lot to do in Ohio, but come on. How boring does your town have to be when the best thing you could think of doing in a night is going to a cemetery and vandalizing it? And you know what? Last week we were talking about, making the swastika, that the Buddhists and Hindu people want to take the swastika back and have it be a symbol of love. And I was actually thinking, maybe the Jewish people should do that. You know how African Americans kind of took the N-word and they are now use it and almost empowered a little bit by it, and they kind of try to get rid of the negativity of it and took it as their own. Maybe the Jews should do that with the swastika. We should start making it a symbol of peace. We're not going to forget what had happened and what it represented during World War II, but we're not going to let that keep us down. We're going to take it and we're going to flip it and we're going to make it something positive.
I don't know if it's, like we talked about last week, I don't think it's possible to really change the perception of the swastika. However, if there are people on that side of the world who are still trying to get people to understand the history and acknowledge at least that it once did serve as a symbol for love and acceptance, those people should be on our side to try to get fewer anti-Semitic people, spray painting it on, sacred spots.
I'm sure they are. I don't think Buddhists and Hindu people are very pro-hatred and this kind of, acting out as a form of, anti-Semitism.
Yeah, but they don't, they don't go and question the experts from those fields that are trying to get people to acknowledge the earlier implications of the swastika when they're being spray painted on in cemeteries. You know, they talk to the Jewish or leaders in that area. They talk to all these people. That conversation doesn't happen with frequency. You know, we had to look at that just happened because of that conference. But if they were starting to have those people as part of those discussions, you know, a wider discussion of what that stuff means.
I mean, if we as Jewish people took the swastika and made it a symbol of love or hope or flipped it positively, and then it wouldn't affect us. It wouldn't bother us so much. And I feel like anti-Semites would stop using it. It's almost like we're stealing it from the anti-Semites and we're saying this isn't yours anymore because now this is going to be a good thing.
It's an idea. How would you do that? What would that look like?
I mean, I don't know. It would take a lot of work and a lot of acceptance.
You know, a big giant whitefish salad in the shape of a swastika?
I really do not know how we could do that and how we could flip it around. But, you know, something to think about.
Yeah.
It would be nice. It would be nice if kids didn't want to go and, you know, vandalize cemeteries or anything with swastikas because they're like, oh, now the Jews don't dislike this anymore. You know?
I mean, I do remember in the movie The Producers where the Springtime for Hitler, they have sort of nipple tassel swastikas spinning around. Those, you know, I could get behind that idea.
Funny.
Yeah.
Everybody loves nipple tassels.
Right? You bring some
No
tits
one
in.
have a problem with nipple tassels. I think everybody likes nipples. I mean, we need nipples to survive. Without nipples, we won't last very long.
So definitely some ideas that, you know, can be tweaked out there.
I mean, hey, you know, like, I don't know how we could do it, but maybe, you know, the people at that conference were onto something. And maybe we need to find a way to take these negative things, these forms of hatred and bigotry and these things that oppressed us in the past and turn them into something good.
Speaking of which, there is actually some good news, some feel-good news we found.
Yes, this is good news.
Pretty
good news. I mean, is it good news? It's interesting news, I think.
Well, I think, you know, in the face of what we talk about every week, to see somebody trying to go out and right a wrong, or at least acknowledging wrongdoing of their ancestry, is a step in the right direction. A German guy whose grandfather was a Nazi and took over a Jewish man's store when they had to give up all of their property. Went through Ancestry. What was it? It's one of those online heritage sites, and found out that you know, all this information about his ancestors, and went out of his way to track down the grandchildren of that Jewish store owner to apologize and to acknowledge
he found out that they had a granddaughter that was still alive, living in Israel, a retired teacher. I think she's something in her 80s, and he contacted her and, you know, on behalf of his family, apologized. And I guess he really wants to try to set an example for his son, you know, with the resurgence of anti-Semitism. You know, this is very good. What a mensch.
I mean, just even reading the letter that he wrote to her, the amount of respect just in his language is amazing. You know, saying that currently the political climate in our country is poisoned and there is new anti-Semitism upcoming. I want to make sure, at least, that my family will never again be responsible for injustice experienced by others by taking but to stand up and take part for the weak. I mean, that's what we should all be doing.
Those are great words. Yeah, we should all do that. I mean, should more ancestors be doing this? I mean, you know, this becomes a very tricky situation, I feel, because I think this is great of this guy that he did that, but also this is his father's father, I think, was the one that took it over, and I guess he doesn't have a relationship with his father. The parents got divorced. He didn't know a lot about the grandfather. Apparently, the granddaughter of, you know, the Jews, she heard stories of the grandfather that he was a decent man, that he was a Nazi, but that he treated them with respect and he helped them. You know, he encouraged them to leave, or they would have like been there and, you know, maybe got killed in the Holocaust. But, you know, like, how far do we take this? You know, I mean, because again, you know, I hate to keep bringing up this comparison to the African-American community, but it's like, if you find out that your ancestors were involved with slavery, are you responsible for contacting the descendants of them and apologizing on behalf of the family of people you didn't know and you had nothing to do with?
Well, that's the thing. You know, I don't think that anybody has an obligation to make these kinds of connections. But I think that to look at your own history and realize, oh shit, we done fucked up. Is there anything I can do to try to heal this divide? To try to at least acknowledge that my family is not perfect, and we're trying to be better. I think that acknowledging that you're trying to do better in the future is, I think, a good thing. It's a thing to be proud of. And just because, and like you say, it's a slippery slope if you want to try to make anything like an obligation. You're not. There's no like legal recourse. For somebody to say, see, he acknowledged it, he admitted it, he's guilty, Your Honor. That's not what this is about. I think it's about a personal taking personal responsibility for something.
How is he taking personal responsibility? He wasn't involved with anything.
No, but it's taking personal responsibility for the idea of being better in the future, of acknowledging, that in the past, there's nothing I can do about the past.
That your family made in the past and that you're not going to do that in the future.
Correct.
I mean, so couldn't he just do that? Couldn't he just donate to Jewish organizations? Couldn't he maybe try to do something positive for Jews in his community? I mean, was it necessary, do you think, to contact this woman and
he says in the letter,
apologize to her? I mean, I don't know. Like, hey, this is nice. I think it's beautiful that this guy did this. Like, but I'm a little like I don't know how I feel about it. Like, is it his place to say you're sorry for things that other people did?
I don't know. I like it. It speaks of great character to me.
It does speak of good character, but from what I read, he was a little more emotional than the lady was. About the whole situation. This almost seemed like this was more for him to feel better about himself and his ancestry than it was for this woman who had a totally different view of the grandfather, who thought the grandfather was a good man and not an anti-Semite, when this guy's like, he was a Nazi, he was bad. I'm just like, ooh, this is some like weird Trump talk there.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, he even does say in the letter that, he says, I understand you may not see any benefit for yourself personally in talking with me, but I would like to understand better and be able to teach my children better. That I don't know. I think that it comes from a good place. I don't think that there's any, even though there's probably a little bit of selfishness of him wanting to, unburden himself of this kind of thing. I don't see it as as too selfish of a thing that you're talking about here.
Okay, I mean, it's definitely a good thing. I mean, this My Heritage site apparently helped him track down this lady on their own.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole separot discussion about privacy.
That's kind of crazy. Where they found out about his grandfather, that he was involved with not being a Nazi and World War II, and then they went and found the gravestone of the people whose store he took over. Which they got it. They took over the store at a fraction of, not a fraction, but a lot cheaper than it was worth because it was Jewish property, and that was the way things were.
They got one hell of a deal.
Because
they bought it at the very bottom of the market, I tell you. They had
and apparently his family that he still doesn't have anything to do with, they still own that property.
They had a very good broker. In fact, if they threatened to break everything had they not sold. So that was
the woman whose grandfather owned the store, who escaped to, at the time, Palestine, seems to be happy, be better. The guy whose family is the one that seems to have the negativity. The guy is definitely a mensch, definitely setting a good example for his son. And, with all this anti-Semitism that's on the rise and going on, I guess it is nice to see somebody be proactive.
I mean, it's also kind of ironic that the guy whose family were Nazi sympathizers, it's been keeping him up nights, that he needed to unburden himself. He finally tracks down the granddaughter of the Jews that they displaced, and she hadn't thought about it at all. She was like, "Oh, well, nice to meet you."
It's true.
Yeah.
And the guy has nothing to do with his father's side, and this was his father's side. And I don't know, there seemed to be something there too. He hasn't talked to his father since the 70s. The family still owns his property and a lot of other properties.
Right.
And I guess the hardware store that it became a chain, and it's successful, and he has nothing to do with it.
I mean, yeah, this might be the least interesting story in this entire family timeline.
Right? There's like a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot to unpack. I have questions.
Hey, good for this guy.
Yeah, good on him. I guess that brings us to our most troubling news of the week. Secretary of State Pompeo is the first Secretary of State to visit these settlements in Israel, in the West Bank, and in the Golan Heights, and has gone out of his way to call...
the first Secretary of State, the first top U.S. diplomat to do so.
And he's gone out of his way to label the BDS movement officially anti-Semitic in their plans to try to maintain any kind of Palestinian state.
Yeah, yes. There's a lot going on. So first of all, he helped declare the Golan Heights is Israel's. It's not Syria's anymore. What's more troubling to me is, yes, in the West Bank, he said from now on, items that are made in the West Bank, the United States is going to allow them to be labeled made in Israel, opposed to in the past they had to say like made in the West Bank, but now he's saying made in Israel.
I guess it's still better than made in China.
It definitely is better than made in China. This definitely isn't helping the conflict, the occupation. Of course, most of the international community views these settlements as illegal. Actually, he visited a winery that I guess named a wine after him, and apparently that's apparently Palestinian-owned land, but apparently some huge donor now has it that gives a lot of money to the Trump campaign. Trump has been so pro Israel and, really helping Netanyahu. And, I guess that's kind of one of the highlights of his presidency, though it could be argued that, both the UAE and Bahrain were already kind of doing deals on the DL with Israel. And, what a lot of people are saying is like, all kind of Trump just kind of showed up at the right time for this kind of to happen. It is great that they're recognizing Israel as a country finally. But I mean, this is just more trouble like for the Palestinian people, especially because when he said that he's going to label the BDS as anti-Semitic and he's going to stop giving any money to any groups that are involved or support the BDS, and some of those groups give a lot of humanitarian help to the Palestinian people. And, we talk about this all the time, conflicting what's going on with Israel.
Well, listen, we've talked about this a lot, but I also, the BDS movement is not without its own faults. There is a faction within that group and amongst Hamas that really only believes that a complete destruction of Israel is their only hope for survival, that they need to totally eradicate. There are factions of that on that side. I'm not saying that that's all of those people, but there are
people that support the BDS movement that feel that way.
And that's where,
because the BDS organizers they publicly spoke out against, bigotry, hatred, racism, and they even mentioned against Jewish people.
Well, that's the thing, though. But like it's not exclusive to Jewish people. It's the entire Israeli population that they're against, in a sense. So it's not even
BDS people. Yes,
they don't
separate. We always talk about this, separating the actions of Israel and Israel as a country to like all Jews.
I mean, because that's the thing. Like some of these extremists don't make that distinction, and some of them do. The fact that that America is feeding into either side of that fiery debate, the way that we are, is, I think, reprehensible, because you're throwing gasoline on a fire there. It really is.
And, again, like, there's so much anti-Semitism that's going on. Like, why are they, want to say that it's kind of the same thing as, this peaceful advocacy of, a boycott?
Goes back to what we were just talking about, the whole fact that Jews were displaced from Germany. I mean, what's next? Are they going to impose a ban on doing business with the Palestinian peoples?
No, the same thing. The Jews couldn't own land, and the Germans were allowed to kind of take it from them. I mean, there's a little bit of similarities. I hate to compare, what happened in the Holocaust and World War II with what's happening in Palestine, because I think it's a false equivalency. But, there is a little bit of a comparison, with the Nuremberg laws and, the way Israel treats the land with the Palestinian people. Like, I don't understand, like, why can't we make Palestine its own country? Like, I've said this before, I'll say it again. What bigger mitzvah could we do as Jews than to love our neighbor and show respect for our neighbor and help give these people back the land. If Jerusalem, Israel wants to keep that as the capital, fine, but they need to let go of their firm grasp on the West Bank and let the Palestinian people have their land and form their own country. I mean, I think, in my opinion, people are hurting. Palestinian people are hurting. And, of course, like we always say, Israel isn't only to blame. The Palestinian leadership is not very good or really cares about their people. This whole thing from the river to the sea, wanting to abolish Israel, that doesn't help anybody. So I hope people can stop saying that. We need to find a common ground. We need people fighting for Palestinians to not be so aggressive. Oh, we want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Like, that's not going to help.
Yeah.
That's where the anti-Semitism kind of creeps in a little bit, because it is a Jewish state. So is the BDS anti-Semitic? I mean, I don't know. They claim not to be anti-Semitic. They speak out against anti-Semitism.
I mean, listen, here's the biggest issue, I think, is that, it's easy for us to be sitting here in America and having these kinds of conversations and really heated debates about this, but we don't live over in that area. You and I have to do our own research to even find news about this stuff. A lot of it's not covered, and there's a lot of problematic ways that some of these issues are covered. Like, even people that we talk to who watch. It's just like watching CNN or Fox News. You get two different narratives being presented at the same time, and so for us to be so far removed geographically and ideologically from the people that are really in the middle of it makes it a little bit even more problematic, because you and I can see, we just need to get together on some of these issues. But some of these things have been so ingrained for generations that it's really hard for those two sides to even come together. I mean, even when we talk to Jess Solomon and to Iman El-Husseini about how they have to qualify all of their news sources when they argue about political stuff, because there's troubling narratives.
Well, I mean, Pompeo did go to these places. It's kind of like maybe one of the last things they're going to do with Israel. The Trump administration has been very pro-Israel. They stopped giving aid to the Palestinian people, which, hopefully Biden says he's going to pick back up. People are still skeptical what's going to happen with Biden, because he is a big supporter of Israel. Pompeo is an evangelical Christian, so he really loves Israel. Evangelical Christians love Israel because they think, the Jews being there will help whatever, when God comes down to save us.
It's ridiculous. I mean, when Trump issued a statement last year, I think it was on Holocaust Remembrance Day, and didn't even mention the Jews in the statement.
Didn't mention the Jewish people. But hey, when the BDS speaks out about anti-Semitism, they mention Jewish people.
I mean, if you're going to mention anti-Semitism, you have to mention the Jews.
I mean, when they speak out against bigotry and hatred, when they tell people what they are,
Yeah,
I mean, we can hope for the best, I mean, labeling it anti-Semitic, I don't think it's right. I mean, I feel like people have been doing that for a long time, I know Ilhan Omar got a lot of heat being they called her an anti-Semite because she supported the BDS movement. It's a peaceful movement. Apparently, they modeled it after the boycotts that happened in Mississippi, in South Africa. So they're a nonviolent thing. I'm keep on doing more research about it. They just don't want people to be supporting what's happening in the West Bank and what Israel is doing, and how it keeps on taking this land that belongs to the Palestinian people.
Nobody from the international community has come to us to try to solve this, but who knows, if we get more listeners, that may happen soon. But it seems like a good as enough segue to invite our guest on today.
Yeah, she's a listener and a dear friend and a Jew.
Maybe she can help us solve the crisis in the Middle East.
Maybe we need a woman's perspective.
That's what we do.
So let's we're going to bring Elizabeth Stern onto the show, everybody.
All right, let's welcome her.
All right, really excited to have Liz on the show. Hey, Liz, thanks for coming. This is our 90th episode.
Wow, hi, thank you. We're exciting.
So happy to have a friend on the show.
Woohoo, 90, that's cool.
Fellow Jew.
Fellow Jew,
yeah.
Jewess. I like that. Do you prefer being called a Jewess opposed to just a Jew? If you're going to be anti-Semitic, you want it to be Jewess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're going to go in on a Jew, you might as well say a Jewess. Yeah.
Jewess.
Yeah, it's nicer.
That's good.
pretty.
It is much nicer. It does have a nicer ring to it. I'm looking for my Jewess.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll add that to my Jswipe profile.
You really should. I would swipe on that in a second.
Would you?
Yeah.
Jswipe girls are the worst, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I went on exactly one Jswipe date in my life.
Oh, really?
It was the worst.
Wasn't good?
No, it was terrible. It was terrible.
Okay. Why was it so bad?
Oh, so as I get there, we really didn't exchange much information because I don't know, Jswipe at the time didn't really have a lot of information. It was just like, here's their picture.
Here's this Jew, and they asked you if you wanted to be kosher, right? They still ask the kosher.
Yeah, that if you're just, I guess, just the really important stuff, not the stuff that I cared about at all. So as I'm coming up to the place where we're going to meet, he says to me, he texts me, and he's like, if you're almost here, you can find me because I'm the one who's shorter than you want him to be.
Ooh.
Now he's a lying Jew already.
He was so tiny. It was just like
I like how he waited till like right before the date.
That's my point. Like, it was never mentioned. We've been texting the whole time. And you know what? I don't even care. Like, but my husband's shorter than I am. You know that. And that's fine. He's sexy as hell. But like, no, it was very weird. It's a weird way to start a date. And it just went down from there. Yeah.
Definitely weird when people aren't honest with the way they present themselves. I mean, I always find that when a girl doesn't look like her picture or there's something that isn't true, I'm like, we're already starting on a dishonest place. Like, how could this be good? I recently matched with some girl on Jswipe that I had matched with around Yom Kippur.
Ooh, sexy.
We chatted a little bit around Yom Kippur, whatever, and I asked her if she lived near Central Park, and I asked her if she wanted to go for a walk in the park as a date.
Yeah.
And I think I said something like, I'll be completely sin-free, so you'll get me at my purest or something.
Nice.
I like it.
Joke. I never heard from her. I never heard from her again after that. So then we matched again. I'm like, oh, hey again, how you doing? Whatever.
Yay,
I'm like, why don't we have a FaceTime? She's like, that sounds good. Let's FaceTime. So I text her to be like, hey, like, how's 8 o'clock or whatever? And then I'm like, I don't get any response. I'm like, whatever. I write on Jswipe, hey, I shot you a text last night, whatever. She's like, oh, I never got it. And then I text her again. I realized she blocked me.
Wow.
What? On Jswipe?
No, she blocked my phone number when I asked her for a walk.
Oh, so she didn't know that you were the same guy.
I don't know if she knows or not. But I thought it was weird.
I think it's very weird. See, I think Jswipe is just weird. Let's just stay away.
I feel like the women just like they expect and like they have the highest expectations of like they're a bunch of JAPs, Jewish American princesses. I'm
Not
sorry,
a Jewess,
they are.
but a JAP. Yes.
Maybe I'll add that to my profile too. No JAPs.
Whoa, no JAPs, only Jewesses.
Hey!
I feel like all the dating apps, you can tell just who's Jewish from the other ones because they list all the things they don't want. That's all the complaining.
Right. Oh, there you go. That's true.
I don't want somebody too short. I don't want somebody who doesn't like sushi or the Caribbean.
Okay, then
must love dogs.
I know, must love dogs. Not a guy that takes himself too seriously. Someone who makes me laugh.
Yeah, I can weed out the Jews on Bumble and Tinder. It doesn't matter.
You've got excellent Judar.
I do.
Yeah, I've had some of my worst date experiences were from Jswipe. The girls they expect too much, and they don't seem to have very good senses of humor either. And
I found that there was very limited sense of humor on the Jswipe. People were really, this guy who was so short, he really was just ready to move me on in. First date, he's like, I own my own house, I have a dog. And I'm like, wow, you're just like wife shopping, huh? And it was really crazy.
Did he at least pay for dinner?
It was a drink. Oh my gosh. And the thing that was the worst is that we were out for drinks and it was some sort of a promo. So they were giving free glasses and he didn't take his. And to me, I was like, your glass is on the table as we were walking out. And to me, that just meant that, like, so you don't care if we, in the future, don't have these glasses to tell our grandchildren about. You don't care about that, huh?
Oh,
I guess you just don't care.
That's true. Those could have been nice, memorable glasses if you guys did last, like this. These are glasses from our first date,
Yeah, and they were cool because they were the kind that you couldn't tip over. So why didn't he just want that?
I mean, what kind of Jew is he? He's not taking a free thing anyways.
Especially one that's like, anti-tip.
Sounds
It's
suspicious.
anti-no. Guys.
To me. No, I'm sorry. We don't mean to play into Jewish stereotypes, but I will always take a free glass.
Yes, the free glass is what? Nice.
I will.
Nice.
Most of my glasses are free glasses. They're from medieval times, which Liz actually bought me that glass. I have one from Samuel Adams, and I have one from like Hudson Whiskey.
Yeah.
And I have 2 free Maker's Mark glasses.
Yeah, if you look at
those are all your glasses.
You look at how much he paid for. You look at how much he paid for all those glasses. They are matching.
Oh, hey, I like that.
Yeah.
Do you like my set? You know what? This is really sad. Actually, it has nothing to do with Judaism, but I actually have like a bunch of like Smurf glasses, like superhero glasses that are just like so. I think they're so cool. I don't let anyone drink out of them.
I have that too.
I have them like wrapped up in a box, like hidden somewhere.
I have those. Back when they put like real things into Happy Meals.
Yeah. Those are like, I think the Smurf glasses that I have. They were like old Happy Meal glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the whole Archie and the Gang, which used to be jelly jars. And
Okay.
no one drinks from those. No.
Well, listen, I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily exclusively Jewish, but certainly the collecting of tchotchkes is, in my family, somewhat of a tradition.
Mine as well.
My mother has a lot of tchotchkes.
I got a lot of tchotchkes as well. Yeah. As someone, I used to use those glasses, and a girl once broke one. And I think that was like the end of it.
And the Smurfs, I don't know if the Smurfs have much to do with Judaism, except for the fact that Gargamel was cast as like the evil Jew that wanted to turn them all into gold and or eat them. I'm not really sure.
I mean, is that how I never interpreted it like that at all?
Well, I didn't interpret it like that as a child either. I mean, that's just
okay. But you've read this? I haven't heard about this, like anti-Semitism in the Smurfs.
It exists. These theories are out there.
There's a theory that's opposite of that Gargamel was Hitler and that the Smurfs were Jews.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
See? You could argue both sides.
I mean, the Smurf community
from
was
Belgium.
The Smurf community
from
was
Belgium, which is very anti-Semitic.
The Smurfs it was a communist or socialist community for sure. They didn't really have any money. They didn't, everybody had their own skills.
They had Smurf berries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never really I never connected the Belgium anti-Semitic angle to the Smurfs before.
See, you can really go in on it. It's quite the
feel
topic.
like there's like a deep dive to make some sort of video or something about it. I don't know if that's my speed. Liz has been married to a non-Jew and a Jew.
That's true. I've decided to try both.
Oh.
Do you find a lot of differences?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of differences. Well, the first guy I married, because that's the order. I married the non-Jew, and then I married the Jew.
First, you married the boy and got it out of her system.
Right? Isn't that what
she learned her
like?
lesson.
It's terrible.
Once you go goy, you go back to Jew.
No, he was a good guy, but I never really was able to connect to his family. That's a huge thing. Because they lived in the middle of Montana, and
I thought he was a dick anyway.
And I know you did. And what
he was a good guy. I don't want to throw all your business out here, but anyways, okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. No, he was fine, but yeah, there was no. He was from Montana, and there was just no similar groundwork. Like Jews don't know from Montana. So we grew up in a completely different way. We had different values, everything, which was really sexy in our 20s and everything. But by the time it got to our 30s, we really weren't able to keep that working anymore. Not just primarily because he was a dick. He cheated on me. So that's why we got divorced.
Right? You're like, he was a good guy that fucked other girls.
Sometimes I forget about that. That's fine. It's fine. Water under the bridge.
Oh, okay.
But but then I met Jason, and I'll tell you, you still don't connect with the in-laws because people are just weird, and you can't ever get in-laws. Now I have judgy in-laws, right? Like that, so it's just a different kind. They're not from Montana.
Okay, before they were distant, now they're a little overbearing.
Yeah, now they're right there, right?
You're like the Goldilocks of marrying people.
And they still have so much to say. Like he's marrying a Jew, and still I don't check off all the boxes. So hey, he should be not married at all, right? That's very Jewish, right?
Yeah.
What do you want from me? Would you rather your oldest son not be married at all? That's always my question. You love him so much, Mommy? You love him so much. Your mothers love you so much. They do. So I
love you too, Mom. She's listening.
As if there's something wrong with that. Like with my mother, just because my mother has good taste.
No one's ever going to be good enough for their little boys.
Like the reverse Oedipus complex or something.
It is. It's really intense, too.
My last girlfriend, when my mother met my last girlfriend, her first thing that she said to her was, well, he could do a lot worse, but you'll never do any better. And that's a Jewish mother for you.
Wow!
That's
I don't know what I would have done if I heard that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, see, that's exactly what I mean. Right there. That's kind of the life. But otherwise... I don't know. I think I did better the second time. And is that because he's Jewish? Like, possibly. We have the same structure.
Maybe practice does make perfect.
Maybe practice makes perfect.
I mean,
sure.
After your divorce, were you like, I want to find a Jewish person?
After I got divorced, the first thing I wanted to do was date a black guy, if you want to know the truth.
Really?
It was like, I can do anything. I'm grown, and no one can stop me from anything,
Okay.
I had an older father.
They're black Jews.
Yeah, totally. That is true. That is very true. I still had an old father, and he wasn't going to handle a lot of it. But then there I was, But no, I didn't think that I wanted to date a Jew, and then I did. Not Jason. Someone else, and it was comfortable. And when I met Jason, I actually didn't know that he was Jewish because he's only half Jewish and the other half is Italian, so he has an Italian last name. So my real last name is Oliveri, and that's pretty cool. So now I have like this very Italian name, like Elisabetta Oliveri, and I get that while still being married to a Jew. So it's pretty cool.
But his mom's Jewish, so he's a full Jew.
Oh yeah, he was bar mitzvahed and everything.
That's all it takes.
That's
Jason is a great guy.
Knows how to makes a mean matzo ball soup and a nice sauce.
Yes, that's exactly gravy. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
it's gravy on his side, huh? Because that's always the big debate, the gravy sauce debate.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't care. I'll just have more of it, please.
Right. Absolutely.
Give me.
No, he's one of those Italians. Yeah.
Gravy is brown, by the way.
I know, right? What's this red gravy?
Yeah, it sounds weird.
Does sound
Thanksgiving.
weird to me. Liz's mother is dating a rabbi.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that so crazy?
I mean, it's a step up from dating a moil.
Yeah, my father certainly wasn't a moil, but he was Jewish, and I didn't know what would happen after he was gone, and what happened was very different. She found herself an Orthodox rabbi, and through that, she has become a lot more religious.
Gee, who would have thunk it?
Yeah, so now I go to the house to visit, and there's candles and just things that weren't there before. But, I did grow up. I went to NCSY, which was a pretty Orthodox Jewish youth group. So I was part of that growing up. So I learned a lot of the things that other kids wouldn't really learn unless they went to yeshiva.
Right.
So I do have a certain basis of knowledge that, say, even my sister doesn't have, that I'm able to really connect with my mom. At first, it was really weird, honestly. Like, she's going and getting thick black wool skirts in the middle of Brooklyn. I mean, she really...
Oh, wow. She's not even shopping only Jew.
Yeah. It was just, seriously, from head to toe, the woman just transformed. And you know what? At first, it was really shocking, and I wasn't really that into it. I was just sort of like, Ma, where'd you go? Who are you? What's this new personality you've taken on? Because I think being religious is something that's pretty serious. And it seemed like, she just sort of jumped into it. But over the years now, because it's been 5 years, she's been dating this guy for like 5 years. Oh
wow.
my God.
And
but,
what up with that? You think the rabbi would want to get married?
No, they're both old people. No one wants to get married when they're old. It's great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They spend time. They spend time together. That's what
it's just about companionship.
They like to spend time. What? I like it. He keeps me company. We spend time.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good that she's happy. But has that
cheaper than spending money?
Right. Look, spending time. Yes. Oh. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to
say. That's another great thing for a Jswipe profile. Together, we don't have to spend money. We could just spend time.
That is just. He's really just hitting them out, Jordan. My God.
Well, so is Judaism? I mean, how much was Judaism a part of your life growing up? Like, did you guys keep kosher?
We kept kosher when I was really little. As I got older, we moved out to Eastern Long Island, so it was harder out there. There aren't a lot of Jews.
Long Island?
Eastern Long Island.
Oh, Eastern.
Yeah. You don't want to go. No. Okay. Suffolk County is a little different. But we were there, and we were Jewish. I mean, we were like the weird kids in school who were Jewish. Me and my sister of maybe like 4 Jewish families. And but we were. It's not like we had a Christmas tree or anything. Like, we were definitely growing up Jewish, but we didn't have a lot of religious stuff. We did a pretty awesome Passover, but otherwise it wasn't super religious in the house, besides there maybe being mezuzahs on the door, just that kind of level of basic Judaism, I'd say. Just sort of your run-of-the-mill, we're Jews. But then, she meets this guy who she actually knew for a long time, but now that's another story. Okay. But she meets this guy.
He was waiting in the wings.
He's there, and they've been getting along. And so I will say that it's become more normal because she's like sort of dressing with her own style mixed with being all sorts of Orthodox in her clothing. But, maybe she jazzes it up a little in the way that only my mom can. So she's made it her own, and it seems pretty sincere. So I've taken a backseat to the complaining, and I think that she's doing pretty good. Like, hey, she met a rabbi. Like, as far as Judaism goes, she's like winning, right? Isn't that like the thing?
I guess so.
On Judaism bingo, you're like, rabbi, all right.
To all her other friends on Rosh Hashanah, she's like,
I get to sit on any bima I want now. I'm on the dais.
Come to our kiddush, my boyfriend's gonna make it.
Exactly.
I mean, I want my mother to date, but I feel like if she started dating a rabbi, I'd be like bummed.
I was bummed. I'm telling you. At first, it was kind of bumming me out.
But I would be. I'm glad you came around. You're right. All that's important is that your mom's happy. Liz, have you ever experienced anti-Semitism?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, like, who am I, right? I mean, just because we're in New York doesn't mean that we're shielded from it in any way. Like I said, where I grew up out east in Suffolk County, it wasn't a very Jewish neighborhood, nor was I situated around any other Jewish neighborhoods. But the first time I experienced anti-Semitism was going to somebody's birthday party as a kid and her cat being named Hitler.
Oh,
wow.
And I did not understand because I was maybe second grade. Yeah, probably about 7 or 8. And I didn't really understand, but I knew there was something wrong with that. And it turned out that family, the same family on back to school night, my mother and her mother were looking at artwork that the kids had done. And she turns and she's like, "You're the Jewish ones, right?" And I just always knew that growing up, that this certain family. And then because that happened so young, I was sensitive to it. So I really was able to notice, when my last name, is Stern. So there was a lot of Stein. And when you say, no, it's Stern, they say, it's the same thing. Like, no, that's anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was rough being one of the only Jews in my school. That's just how it was. But then, you move to New York, you find your own people, and you still have it.
Yeah.
A cat named Hitler seems like it would be like a cartoon that the KKK show their kids.
Right? Can I just tell you how weird that was? And like when I told my parents, like I got in the car afterward, like goodie bag, and I'm just like, so their cat was named Hitler, and I remember my parents looking at each other, and it just being, it dawned on them like, where did we move?
Well,
we started out in Brooklyn, and
you moved to an area where people let their cats run the house.
Yes, that must be what it was.
I would definitely say no to that pussy.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was too easy, but I went there anyways.
I'm really happy for you.
Well, did you have a bat mitzvah growing up?
So, like I said earlier, my dad was old. So he was kind of so old that he.
How old was he?
Right? He was so old that like his sister didn't have a bat mitzvah because it wasn't a thing.
Right.
So he was someone who studied Torah quite a bit, having gone to yeshiva and then moving to Israel for a few years. And he didn't explain it ever in a sexist way. He explained that Torah explains that women are already at a certain status and don't need this big thing to prove that they're adults.
Right.
I think that thing is called their period, probably.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
he didn't tell me that part. That's
Right.
just like, assume that, right? So anything like that, like why it takes to have a minion, why it takes more women than men. It was always about like the women actually having to have their brains on something more important, So it was this very interesting way of explaining it to me that was very empowering for women. I'm not sure if it was a line of bullshit or not, but
It's like the beginning,
okay.
the ultimate mansplaining.
Yeah, the ultimate mansplaining, all so that my sister and I couldn't have bat mitzvahs, right?
I didn't have a bat mitzvah, but I got a cupcake when I had my first period.
Yeah, right? I did not get a bat mitzvah.
Red velvet.
Yeah.
I went to a ton, and so did my sister. So believe me, we thought it was bullshit. We weren't very happy.
My bat mitzvah was Carrie themed.
Was it? No.
No.
Stop it. That's terrible. No. But I would love to know that. What was your bar mitzvah theme?
My bar mitzvah theme wasn't themed. My bar mitzvah was at the National Arts Club in the city, where my dad, my parents were good friends with the guy that ran the kitchen there. So, she had a budget, and this is what it was. And they had a wedding coming in later that day that the guy had all of the flowers for that wedding delivered earlier in the day. So I had like a, $15,000 wedding flower wedding display, for my bar mitzvah. But it was just, they just had it delivered early.
Yeah, they had to have somebody standing by the door telling guests they can't take home the flower arrangements.
Yeah.
We had a food fight at my bar mitzvah also, which was, not planned, but.
Oh, wow. That's terrible. I'm like feeling like your mother right now. I'm like, why would you do such a thing?
I don't know. Like, my mother doesn't even like me to tell jokes about it because if she ever hears me telling jokes, she's like, that's not funny. That was a terrible thing. That was a terrible thing.
It'll always be too soon for you, Jordan. It'll always be
all the
too
art
soon.
looked like it was from Jackson Pollock after his bar mitzvah.
Yeah, but that's why I say, you can't even destroy the art when you have a food fight there. You can just make the art more valuable.
Right. Jonathan, did you have a theme?
Jonathan's Hard Rock Cafe.
Stop it. See?
Yep.
That's adorable.
We've talked about this all the time. I still have a T-shirt from it
That is so cool.
that I let special girls wear.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, that was
I was
one of the first-
dating one girl, and her mom listened to the podcast, and the mom called her and goes, "Has he let you wear the bar mitzvah shirt yet?"
That's hilarious.
That was one of the first questions I asked my husband when we were dating. I texted him and I said, what was your bar mitzvah theme? Because I was dating a Jew and I thought it was a fun question to ask. It's like novel, right? And he wrote back Saturday Night Live, and that is when I knew I was going to marry him.
Oh.
Okay.
If you really wanted to be like a Jewish con man, you could have like, the box of all the leftover bar mitzvah shirts, and you tell all the girls like it's really special. And
and you get. I only have one. I don't let them keep it.
it'd be funny.
But imagine if you did.
Yeah, if you had like a box,
Thanks for the sex. You get to leave with one of the T-shirts left over from my bar mitzvah.
some parting gifts.
I'm sorry, but I get in my life when I was single, I got very few parting gifts.
Okay.
Maybe it would have been easier.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the most Judaism I usually give my dates is if we do cocaine off a chumash.
I don't know. Come on. When you were
The Bible, by
13,
the way.
are you telling me
Yeah.
you didn't judge other people's bar mitzvahs based on the goodie bag you got to take with you?
Oh, totally.
Maybe the candy bags that they threw. That was popular in my Jewish circle. That at the bar mitzvah, I guess when you got bar mitzvah, they would throw candy.
All
They
right.
would have little candy bags. So I
Did
felt
you
like
have little stations that they set up for different kinds of souvenirs. Like maybe you got boxer shorts, air spray, spray art or whatever on it. And maybe you get a hat that was like, had graffiti on it and it would be like, Jordan's bar mitzvah, 97,
right.
Like, did you have none of that? That was really big on
some of those bar mitzvahs that they have stuff like that, yeah.
Well, as we start to get down to it here, we have a few questions that we ask all of our guests sort of about their Jewish experience. What is your favorite Jewish holiday?
Probably Pesach. Yeah, Passover.
Passover? Yeah, why?
Yeah. The food, the story, the whole thing. Like, really, as far in as you want to go, I'm down. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned food. What's your favorite Jewish food?
I am in the minority, I know, but not from the jar, but a good cooked gefilte fish is my favorite Jewish food. It really is. If you get it for real, not that jar crap, but if you get the real thing.
No, I feel the same way. There is like a really nice kind of gefilte fish. I mean, the jar stuff with the jelly, that is kind of gross.
That's not what it is, yeah.
But you could get some decent one, like the one at Russ and Daughters is all right. But my mom used to make one it was really good with some.
My mom also made one that was really good.
Little radish.
I don't know, but I always think of the old joke. Why nobody's ever been able to catch a gefilte fish? It takes one bite of the bait and sends it back.
See, that's a good solid joke.
It's a good one.
That's good.
Who's your favorite Jew of all time? Biblical, fictional, historical, and entertainment, whatever you like.
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard question. My favorite Jew? I mean, there are so many good Jews. That's a weird thing to say.
There are good ones.
Look, am I going to go? I guess right now, Bette Midler.
Bette Midler, okay.
Right this second, I will say Bette Midler. I don't know. I didn't think about it long enough, but she's up there. Barbra Streisand, maybe? I don't know. Something.
Very musical Jews.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did they ever do like a duet together?
I'm thinking right now that probably not, right?
I feel like they should have.
They should have.
How have they not?
Who knows?
We got to get them on the show to sing together.
Yeah. Bette and Barbara. Barbara and Bette. I mean, who gets top billing there? You don't even know.
Who knows? It's crazy.
Midler and Streisand.
Liz, we really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. I had a good time.
Do you want to plug your shop?
Yeah, Maggie Beth Vintage. Maggie Beth Vintage. It's find it on Instagram or at Etsy. But otherwise, you can just go to MaggieBethVintage.com, and that'll lead you everywhere else. And I sell really weird antiques and vintage items. Get some for Christmas. Get your friends some weird stuff.
Or for Hanukkah.
Obviously for Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Get your friend 8 of my things for Hanukkah. Then get another friend 8 of my things.
I mean, listen, we should all be supporting more small businesses during this hard time. These things go directly to the people who make and make a living from this, and not go to some big corporation. So I wholeheartedly support buying stuff from small independent shops like this. So
especially Jewish-owned ones.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jewish and lady-owned.
Be sure to check it out, Maggie Beth Vintage on Instagram or on the website. And we're going to talk a little bit more with Liz, but you have to subscribe to our Patreon if you want to hear it. So get on that.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much to Liz for coming on the show.
We want to thank everybody who's been listening to the podcast and following along. 5 times chai. May you have a very awesome life to life. Please check out Liz's shop, Maggie Beth Vintage. Of course, you can check us out across social media platforms on American Jew Podcast. You can email us at americanjewpodcast@gmail.com. Sign up for our Patreon. It's American Jew Podcast, and you could follow me across all social media platforms, or just Venmo me or Cash App me money at Jonathan Randall.
You can always find me on Instagram at BeatNickNudnick and at Where's the Grief. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will be Jewing it up again next week.